Welcome to Black Businesses Matter, a podcast about why Black businesses matter and the benefits of collaborating and advocating for Black businesses to drive impact. Each episode will cover legacy, hope, Black joy, funding sources, cultural shifts, equality, and so much more. Known as the brand maven who transforms organizations with her storytelling prowess, meet Larvetta L. Lofton, host of Black Businesses Matter, a podcast about why Black businesses matter and the benefits of collaborating and advocating for Black businesses to drive impact.
I am Larvetta Lofton, your host and the founder of the L3 Agency.
We will provide inspiration and action while spreading some joy to a thriving community of Black business owners and leading thought leaders.
All right. Welcome to another episode of Black Businesses Matter. Well, today is Juneteenth, right? Today is the day that we're celebrating Juneteenth. And we do something different for Black Businesses Matter. We have a live show. So last year we did it in a studio, which was a Black studio on the west side of Chicago. Okay. Today, we are in our studio with our amazing engineer, which is a Black man. So today, we're being very intentional with making sure that we are working and employing and supporting and advocating for Black businesses, entrepreneurs, thought leaders, etc. So today, guys, I really want us to dig deep in real estate and talking about community development. And our guest that we have this afternoon, guys, I'm going to just say this. Be still for an hour. Just be still for an hour and tune in, because these two are incredible at what they do. And I do consider you all unsung heroes. I do. And that's what we wanted to talk about this show, because you guys are service-based professionals. And we don't see that. We see everything about, oh, this is a beautiful building and, oh, they sold it. But they don't know the people behind the scenes that make that magic. And I thought it was important for Juneteenth because, right, we're talking about food, we're talking about culture, and all that's important. But we also have to get to our service-based businesses. So, guys, I want to introduce you to, and I'm just going to start with the woman, okay? Just start with the woman, okay? She is my sister. She's part of Divine Nine, guys. She is part of, she's not, I'm not going to pull out, but she is a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha. Oh, I'm saying that, but I'm saying it with love. Lauren Lowery, whom I've known for about 4 or 5 years now.
Maybe longer.
And I'm just grateful that we are here today to really highlight the work that she does. Her company is FP Commercial, which is a recognized minority and women-owned advisory firm committed to providing clients with proven solutions and outcomes for urban community revitalization and international retail development. And she is a shopping center owner and investor who loves career mentoring and coaching in real estate. And that is so true, because she is definitely a coach about that. Her professional passion acknowledges history in assist in approving commercial corridors by strategizing in cooperation with community stakeholders. So y'all like, okay, what's that? I'm just going to say this. Lauren might be, I don't know any other commercial realtors, but you might be one of probably 3 Black women in the commercial space. Am I? Because I think I've met one person, a woman of color. I don't know, woman of color. And I mean, what is that number? I know it has to be very low in the commercial space for sure.
It's very low in the Chicago area.
Wow.
So in Illinois.
Got it.
Those people who do sort of higher level commercial retail representation.
Okay.
And development. And so there might be, that means that I actually need to do more work. So that's a terrible statistic, but It is very true. There's not a lot.
And that's why mentoring is your thing, to make sure that you can bring that to the table. So I just want you all to know that when it comes to commercial property in Chicago, Lauren probably knows somebody who owns it, or she can get you to somebody. She gonna find it. So I just want you all to know that she is a gem with that. So welcome to the show, Lauren.
Thank you so much, Lauren.
I'm so excited to have you. And she's also my commercial realtor. I'm gonna just say that, just for the record. And she is a coach, and because there's things that we just don't know, and she'll just walk it through for me. Because when you're unfamiliar with something like that, which has been dominated by men, just having your level of acumen and expertise in that space really just makes it easier and say, I can do this. Okay, I can do this. So our next guest, I say he needs no intro, but he does, because this man, I had heard so much about him, and then at some point I was like, okay, I got to connect with him, and I want him to come to the show, because as an architect, we don't see that. We see the building, right? But we don't see the people who design all the elements and the thoughtfulness and the things, the lighting and the way it was positioned. Like, that's an architect. And so I think it was important to bring you to the table on Juneteenth to really talk about all this revitalization. So I want to tell you all a little bit about John. He was born and raised in Chicago, went to Lindblom, and here we go, Lindblom. All right, that's swoop. Y'all deep. Like, it's like Whitney Young and Lindblom. Y'all deep. And he went to University of Illinois, and then he went to graduate school at University of Michigan and completed his master's at the Technical Institute of Vienna. Oh, wow.
In Austria.
And I know. That's why I'm like, oh my gosh. So this is a world traveler, and you have culture from all over the world, which is beautiful. Yeah.
Thank you.
And he's learned his business acumen from John Moutoussamy and Derek Howard. You got to tell us about that. And so the name of his company is JAQ, and I want to say this, JAQ, which is a national technical design architectural firm with expertise in aviation, light med, mixed-use development, and advanced adaptive. He's going to tell us more about that, y'all, so don't just be still. And he also sits on the IC and ULI SHI Decarbonization Task Force. We're going to talk about that, too, because I want people to know a little bit more about the amazing things that you're doing. So welcome to the show, John.
Thank you very much.
Welcome to the show. So, before we get started, guys, because you guys are going to give us a lot of information, I want to know I'm sorry. He is a member of the Divine Nine. He is Kappa Alpha Psi. So he made sure I saw that, guys. Okay. So we are talking about Juneteenth, and Divine Nine is part of Juneteenth. So I've got to recognize that. So I'm just going to say, y'all know I'm a member of Delta Sigma Theta. So I got to throw it out there, because we talking about that. But we always start this show because I think that people need to know who Lauren was as a little girl. Who was Lauren as a little girl?
I think about that recently. I was just the happiest little girl on the south side of Chicago. I had a great block. We were all family. My high school, my grammar school, we were all like family.
Wow.
And so we were all very supportive of each other. My neighbors were supportive of each other. My school, Lindblom is a great school. So when you say little girl, I'm moving from sort of grammar school to high school. I had a wonderful family. I was very blessed to have a great mom and dad. They were both college educated, put themselves through college.
Can we just pause on that for a second? Because that's uncommon, and that's not, and we have to see that there's diversity in us, in that, to be able to see that you had both parents who were college educated. That's wonderful.
I did. I had great examples, and I will say that, I think, did they train me in every way the right way as college educated people? Mm-hmm. It was very clear that I should go to college, that I was going to college. There was no question about that. When maybe some of my neighbors maybe not have, that might not have been the case. But, I do think that even college educated people, certainly in their era, they're both deceased at this time, but they were very busy taking care of themselves. Very smart, but couldn't really, sort of the wealth building on their own was very difficult because they have to take care of themselves, their families. They're probably the first college educated kids in their families, so they had to take care of a lot of people.
Okay.
And so, I also saw them sort of struggle sort of with family, sort of just them taking care of other things in their health. But they gave us sort of great examples of just being entrepreneurial, taking care of, their own mental health, and, in terms of taking care of everybody else too. They took care of our community, they took care of others. They had to take care of themselves. It was a lot. There was a lot going on. And I recognized that even as a young person. It was like, let me just get these grades and get out of here, because they got a lot to do, you know. But even when you have this, wonderful, solid family, they were married for 40-something years until they passed, and they were college-educated people, they still, and you think about today and how we're training parents, they still had some things they could have, done a little bit differently, and but they had great examples across the board.
That's awesome. And what was your favorite subject, Lauren, as a child? I'm curious.
I went to Lindblom Technical High School, the best high school in the history of the world.
We talk about Chicago, so they're going to talk about their high schools, guys. So.
No, but it was a technical school, so we had to take architectural drafting, we had to take physics, chemistry, biology. These were, subjects that were just sort of ingrained. You just knew you were going to take them, and you knew you had to excel in them. And I did. I felt really great about, what I was learning. The entire school was learning. We were at school at the crack of dawn getting work done. Yep. That's just how weird and nerdy the entire school was.
And it still is.
And so I enjoyed all the science classes.
Okay.
And so it was very easy for me to head to Northwestern and major in engineering.
That's awesome. That's where we're like, I love science too, believe it or not. I know sometimes people are like marketers, but we want to know the why, and science will give you the why. So John, what were you like as a little boy?
Wow. So,
come closer.
Thank you. So probably I was real fortunate to have, similar to Lauren, amazing parents, but also it extended to the grandparents. Sunday dinner at grandma's house, didn't miss 3:00. And fast forward, and I'll kind of go back and forth, because who knew at 10, 11 years old that your grandparents' dining room table was going to be in the home that you designed and built later.
Wow.
And my grandmother didn't tell me she was giving it to me, right?
Wow.
So it's like, whoa, so that legacy gets to transfer to our kids and nieces and nephews and in the future grandkids. So my dad was a fireman. My mom was an elementary school teacher, English and social studies at Fernwood. She moved us around because she knew the ins and outs of public school. So was at Fernwood for elementary, back to the neighborhood school, Shoup, for to do middle school, 6th, 7th, and 8th. And so having that opportunity to move and get the best teachers in elementary and then the best teachers that she knew of in middle school really set us up, myself and my siblings, for success. So we end up, my older brother, older sister, watching them be successful. My cousins who lived a block away, watching them be successful. Learning how to compete in junior sports. Started out in baseball and Little League football, actually over in Roseland, Little League baseball and Ada. Then high school, couldn't catch up to the fastball. But tennis coach saw me, and she's like, at Lindblom, she's like, you'll be my number one in 2 years.
Wow.
So I was one of two, I think, of my class alums who lettered all 4 years in high school. Wow. But Lauren is right. We were kind of nerdy.
Yes.
I show up at Lindblom. I don't know how to dance, right?
I love it. A black man not know how to dance, that's a whole story, but we're going to let that stay.
Exactly.
That didn't last long.
Okay, John.
Because a couple of juniors said, hey, you're cool, we're cool, we're going to show you some moves.
I love it.
I mean, it was like Lauren says, a great community.
Nice.
So now I'm this uber competitive guy, right?
Uh-huh.
Got some moves,
Okay.
right? And continue to matriculate. And the whole thing was, you know, watching your parents, mom teaching excellence, dad making sure we understood community and how to relate to other people, and grandparents, that grace, that wisdom, that patience.
Yep.
I remember when I was getting ready to go to grad school, my grandmother called me into her kitchen and she goes, "You sure you want to leave that job?" Just like that. And I said, "Well, Grandma, I got some things I want to do. If I don't get the master's, I can't teach at the collegiate level.
Okay.
Getting the master's allows me to sit for the exam sooner. And John Moutoussamy is always going to be there, professionally, as I continue to matriculate." So she just said, "Okay." And that okay was like that stamp of approval.
Nice.
That level of confidence,
Nice.
right? That just allowed you to continue to go forward. But again, my my 8th grade year, my cousin Henry graduates from Dartmouth,
Okay.
black quarterback. He was the starting quarterback for Morgan Park in the 70s. So imagine that, right? So I'm watching him track. He pulls into the driveway in a brand new 79 Datsun 280Z, silver, black leather. And I was like, okay, if Henry can do it, I can do it.
Yeah.
So again, seeing others proceed and recognizing the struggles that they went through. I mean, imagine being a black quarterback in the 70s at a predominantly white school, playing the position, right? And so I'm watching him do what he do, and it empowered me to do what I do. So then again, fast forward to competitive tennis. Show up at tournaments and folks of other persuasions not wanting you to be there, and then you wipe them with the court, and now they want to know who you are. So the cool thing about junior tennis is it taught me not only continued how to compete, but it taught me how to socialize.
Nice.
Eventually in a predominantly white profession, male-dominant profession, but I now understand their culture, and I understand how to compete.
All right. Okay. Well, I'm going to say this. As kids, y'all were doing a whole lot, okay, as kids. And I love it, which is why you guys are into community development.
Yes.
I want to talk about Juneteenth for both of you all. John, I want to ask you, what does Juneteenth mean for you? Like, when did you first learn about Juneteenth?
Oh, wow. This is going to sound bad.
It's okay, because I want it. I want that. Please, please.
Unfortunately, about the time that they were talking about it politically.
Wow.
A couple of years before it became a national holiday.
Yeah.
So that bothers me, because even going to an elementary school and a high school entrenched in the black community and it not being taught and us not being aware. Talk about the whitewashing of our history, which actually is American history.
Yeah.
Okay? And then the real slap in the face is it becomes a national holiday and celebrated because there were some of us who were free and didn't know we were free. So again, strongholds, generational curses, perpetuated, but eventually we break those chains.
Yeah.
And it's important that those of us who are willing to walk a path that others aren't, I think we can be an inspiration to others to go forward and continue to break chains.
And I think it's okay to say, I didn't know. I think that's the part that we have to say. It's okay to say that because, I went to Clark Atlanta. I mean, there was no way to not know Juneteenth going to HBCU in Atlanta, Georgia. Like, there was none. So, funny enough, when I got to Chicago and it wasn't celebrated, I think that's part of my, and I'm not going to call it hatred, but that is kind of my separatism to Chicago a little bit because we didn't have that culture that, like, it was easy in Atlanta to see millionaires. And, like, it was like, oh, that's the guy who owns the whole darn block. Like, you saw that all day, every day. And so for them, and then to come here and we didn't have Juneteenth, I kind of was like, what happened? So it was definitely, so to fact that it has, kind of made its way to the North finally. Right. Most people have said that. And I'm glad you say that because I think people feel bad that they were not aware. And I think it's okay, whether you're white American or whatever, I think it's okay if you don't know. Because we don't know when Chinese American, you're like, we have to be okay with that and not make and guilt people in that space. So thank you, John, for being honest. What about you, Lauren?
Well, I have a very good friend who is deceased. His name is Hecky Powell. Okay. Hecky Powell owned Hecky's Barbecue in Evanston, Illinois.
Yes, I do remember Hecky's Barbecue. Why do I know that? I don't know.
It's a big deal. It's a Black-owned restaurant, and it was extremely good. So people who went to Northwestern from around the globe will always know what Hecky's is and always appreciated Hecky. Hecky's parents and his people were from New Orleans. So he celebrated Juneteenth every year. He created a soda that was in memory of Juneteenth. Wow. This was 10 years ago before he passed away. And so he made me and others very aware of the holiday itself. And, what I didn't do when you asked me about my childhood is I did not recognize by name the ancestors, Lewis E. Lowery, my father, and Gladys Harris Lowery, my mom, and the person who is really, who does everything for me, my sister, Valerie Lowery, who is still alive, thank God. Yes. Actually, her name is Valerie Lowery Holder. She got married. I keep forgetting her last name.
That's okay. Give her credit now. She's married.
Exactly. Now. I got to use it for years now, too. I still call her Valerie Lowery. But, I grew up in a household, too, that also respected Black history. I went to Northeastern Illinois University for graduate school, the Carruthers Center for Inner City Studies, which is basically, the curriculum used to be about the history of Black people from an Afrocentric point of view, sort of looking at all canons of sociology, all canons of history, and looking at those systems that have governed what impacts Black people. And so, of course, Juneteenth was something that they discussed as well. My professors who have also passed, Dr. Anderson Thompson, who was a hero of mine, and Dr. Yvonne Jones, who's still alive. But many of our professors there, top-of-the-line individuals who made us keenly aware of how we should be talking to others and young people about the history of Black people in this country and around the globe, from Egypt to today. Yeah. So I did learn a lot, and I'm happy it is a national holiday.
Me too.
And I think we all have to understand the horrors and think about the horrors, embody the ancestors and what they went through, being in this country kidnapped and tortured every day.
That's right.
So we have to think about that as we think about Black businesses and how we're expanding and how we're able to operate today.
I'm so glad you just set me right up, Lauren. So, when we think about that from a, freedom, a lot of times what I saw for Juneteenth, and I still don't see it for Black history, is we don't talk about economic development as part of the conversation. And again, I will say this. I love my restaurants. I love all of that. But we have to get past that we are smart that we are smart people and that we're not, and again, know that I will never say or, I say and. Bring us all to the table and create that diversity of thought. And so, Lauren, as I think about cranes, because I want people to visualize, when you go downtown, you see cranes. You see lots of them. And, you know, the word on the street is Chicago's shrinking. But every time I go downtown, there's a crane that's going up. And so when you think about that as a, you know, person who has been ingrained into community, knowing what you do on the South Side, West Side, actually international, knowing that how can people, and I say people, residents, how can they participate in this conversation of when you see a crane, what that does for a community, right? Because I see it downtown, but when a crane comes into, a lot of times what I see is it's negative. Oh, there's going to be a lot of dust. It's a lot of negative energy. I mean, I've been at the town hall meetings, but how do you on that side, because you're talking to community, you're talking to developers, how can community participate in that conversation of seeing how that can help accelerate a community that could be not vibrant, that's not growing, that's not healing? Like, how can community residents today, when we think about Juneteenth, how can they participate in something that's not negative?
What a great question, Larvetta. I think it's important for me when I see development happening in communities. I will tell you that there were times where there were tons of cranes in downtown Chicago. The pandemic has really impacted negatively the central business district. So you don't see as much development in downtown. But what you're seeing is where development should have been flourishing in the first place.
Right.
Our communities, if you're going to expand, so I want you to think about a standard retailer. At a certain point, they have to grow, right? They're public companies. They've exhausted the suburbs, and maybe they've exhausted urban, sort of micro-urban, corridors. Where else are they going to go? Then they have to start thinking about the South Side and the West Side and other sides of town. Or you have Chipotle in Hyde Park. You have Chipotle, on the South Side. They have to continue to grow. However, we get nervous because we should be nervous because people think about, at one point it was integration, people were integrating, it was not a big deal. Then we get nervous because the word becomes gentrification because we think we're going to be pushed out.
Correct.
Right? But so to me, let me just say, I would say this, it's as funny, I think someone's going to get mad at me for saying this, but I think that, when you have the town hall meetings and the developers are up there, and half the time they don't look like you. Sometimes they do.
Absolutely.
But sometimes they don't look like you. And if they do look like you, sometimes you're sort of questioning their, what they are interested in, what their financial interests or other interests. And, when they come to those town hall meetings, they suggest, I think in their head, they're thinking right away, like the public is the enemy because they don't want you, they don't want you, they don't want you. But what we have to do is really think about how that new development can improve our communities, how you can help with that, if that's at all possible. I don't think there's any developer anywhere who wouldn't say, I'd love for you to volunteer, learn a little bit more about the development we're going to do, even if there's a bunch of people who don't look like you in that development. And just see how you can, be a part of that thing. Maybe you're not going to be the part that is going to make all the money on that development, which is a shame too. But I think there's ways for us to get involved as the public who wants to see our communities grow. I think it's really hard. I always feel very sorry for developers. And at one point, I was representing developers in which, we were doing things in these communities. And I was like, I got to quit this job. You know what I mean? Like, it was like, this is not going to work for me. But, then when you can see you can make an impact and bring in people of color to be a part of that, then, that's the highlight. And I think we can talk later about what Chicago Trend is doing, where we're looking to make people of color, wealthy, using development, using community urban corridors as the core of building that wealth. So things are changing a little bit, but I think, we do have to be more positive about things happening in our community. So thanks for asking that question.
Because I don't think, and I just want to make shout out to Chicago Trend because they were a sponsor of our first season. So I just want to bring that up. Yeah. Lanier Richardson, who is a supporter, advocate, investor of my company. And when I presented the podcast idea, he was like, I love it. Like, let's do it. So, I do think it's important because I believe that what happens is we talk to young people. They're like, okay, this is exciting. And I don't want to call them old people. I'm just going to say seasoned people because as I get older, I'm not old. I'm just a little more seasoned. Mm-hmm. And I think we have to be okay with that and understanding. But where we can do is start to participate in the conversations. To your point, volunteer. I think that's powerful. And more importantly is also send a referral. For example, I know an awesome Black architectural firm that could actually, that's what we have to do because if we're inside, whether, someone that doesn't look like us, part of it is that they don't know. And you have to accept that they just don't know. And so I think about you, John. I was at a town hall meeting for the new development that's happening on around the corner from me on 48th and Cottage, right? Which is the Northwestern University building. While I'm excited that they have a Black construction company, I'm disappointed that professional services were not at the forefront of their decision making. Mm-hmm. And so, yes, we're a marketing firm. There's a legal firm, and I've heard, but we have to, people who know people, when you're in those meetings, offer that information. Offer, hey, you know what? I actually know an architecture firm. You should probably give them a call. I think it's our responsibility, and I'd like to get your thoughts on that, John. Is it why are we putting that on others? Is it our responsibility as professional service providers who know other professional service providers to refer those developers that are coming into our communities?
So I want to take a step back
to
your last question
on how we can participate. Yes, please.
So two ways to participate, and I don't think folks need to really consider it volunteering as much as it is their right and their responsibility.
That's good.
To come to these community meetings, impress upon the aldermen, the mayor, the Department of Planning, to have community charrettes, which are opportunities for people to come together and throw things on the table, discuss it, talk about, hear from the community what the community is missing, okay? Because prior to the start of the podcast today, we were talking amongst ourselves, just getting ready about how I've been at presentations where architects of other persuasions have actually said, we didn't even go to the community. Yep. Then I asked the question, well then how did you design it for our community?
That's right.
If you didn't discuss it first with our community?
With. The word is with. I just want to emphasize the word with.
So notice my pause. Yeah. Well, that pause still exists. Yeah. They've never been able to answer that question, unfortunately. So to your point of how we get known, eventually you're going to get your shot. Okay? You get your shot because you've taken advantage of the opportunities that you had previously. Mm-hmm. And then you're right. Somebody in the room is aware that you actually have the credentials and the experience. Okay? So I want to elevate a couple of names, if I may.
Sure.
548 Capital.
Okay.
We were their architect on in Gresham.
Nice.
At 79th and Loomis.
Okay.
And AJ Patton is the first developer that has promoted me in my firm as much as he's promoted his own development. Okay. Second group I'd like to mention is the Imagine group.
Okay.
With Tory Barrett. Tory heard about us, and he hired us to design multiple restaurants.
Yes.
And one is under construction now. Mm-hmm. The other two are going to be going under construction within the next 12 months, let's say, because they're new buildings and the buildings have to get built. But the beauty of what Tory has done, similar to AJ, is Tory has spread the word about JAQ Corp and has brought us to the development team meetings. And we've actually solved some issues that the prime architect on the job did not solve. And an amazing quote just 2 weeks ago, I won't say who or which of the developments, but the prime developer said during that meeting with the city of Chicago, the next time I need a solution, I'm bringing John Gay and JAQ Corp with me to the city.
That's awesome.
He didn't mention the majority firm who had been
Contracted to. Yeah.
kicking this issue down the road for months. So I just love the fact that they have embraced us and they've given us an opportunity. We're thankful for that opportunity. But now it's incumbent upon us as those professionals like Lauren and I to then come to that table and show out. And so I have to mention a third, because Lauren and I, of course, have known each other for a long time. And she has referred us on numerous occasions. And that's actually why we're here today.
Yeah.
Because you are now a client.
Yes.
And just like you're a client of Lauren's. And we're bringing our expertise to the table because I firmly believe that, number one, when you align yourself with what you love,
Yes.
I believe those are actually the talents that God has designed us and ingrained in us.
Yeah.
You're gonna love what you're doing.
That's right.
And when you love what you do, you're gonna be passionate about it. And you're gonna be one of the best
At it.
at it.
Yep.
Okay? And nobody can beat you, Larvetta and Lauren,
Yep.
doing your professions the way you do
Correct.
them, right?
Right.
So that connection and getting an opportunity is really huge for us.
It's so huge because I just want to say that for both of you, having known you all and know your work, I think when something is new, right, you've got to build that relationship, and both of you all are relationship builders. I didn't know Lauren, but it was like, okay, this is what I got going on. And then it just developed this relationship where I'm a trusted advisor. Okay, does this make sense? And I think the other part too, John, is it's that relationship part that makes it so unique. And and I'm not saying that other businesses, but I do believe that I remember I went to Tuck at Dartmouth for a minority business enterprise program. Okay. And I remember them saying, well, Larvetta, like, you sell marketing? And I was like, no, I sell relationships. And that was the first time he had ever heard it in this. I said, because I actually have someone who I went to high school with who referred me business. Now you think high school, now here, but they took this person who was a relationship person then, the same person there that I can trust her, right? To be able to handle that. And we don't understand that the relationship doesn't start on a transaction, right? The relationship starts when I'm just calling you to say, here, I've got this idea. Does it make sense? Walk me through it. And so I think that that's the service-based industry that is it's about relationships, because knowing Lauren, I mean, we've been down a rabbit hole. We started this way, then we moved this way. And so that part of like, it's Larvetta, but the honesty, and I just want to say that in this place of service-based industries is that we don't, and you guys correct me, when you look at a business opportunity, you're not looking at the transaction, you're looking at the relationship. Am I correct?
Absolutely.
You know?
That's correct.
And so transactional is, okay, we're going to get it. We are at some point, but both of you all, for me, you didn't present as transactional. But I do think, and I'm sure I'm going to just throw this out. I do think that because of that, sometimes that's negative. And I'll tell you this. Architectural firm, building development, said, and this is why I want to talk about it. I'm a Black agency, right? Certified. I think we're a solid business. We deliver great work. I'm just going to say that, right? Mm-hmm. Matter of fact, you can Google us and you can find out what you want to find out. But the minute we have the conversation, the minute was talking about money. And not that I'm not going to pay you, but you didn't do your research to know that this isn't someone who is looking for you to give your services away. I first want to understand it. And I think sometimes when there is black, right? We're a Black. How do you all deal with those kinds of things where it's, you know, and maybe you don't, but the idea of like, I want this for free. Or why aren't you, your rate should be, I was going to pay for it this. And knowing that, and I wanted to have this conversation just because I hear this all the time. Well, I feel like they could have given it to me a little bit cheaper, but why? But why? Is it because you're unfamiliar? So John, I'd love to hear how you handle those, because I do think that sometimes we've heard this, right? When all of us are in the room, are we being treated fairly? Even when it's all of us in the room, that's excellent. Are you still going to give me that same rate? And you can discount if you want to, but I think that the expectation is to discount. How do you handle that?
Sure. So I get asked a lot, well, do you have plans that you can use on my development? What do you have in the can?
Wow.
And so right off the bat, folks are thinking that if you have something or a similar project that you've already designed, that you can then take that and apply it to any similar situation.
Okay.
And so my initial response is that first and foremost, I cannot give you a price because number one, I don't understand your goals, aspirations, and expectations for your project, whether it be custom home, office building, office space, airline work. Actually, it goes across the board. Mm-hmm. But I actually have had a couple of developers in the past. They see the fee, and then they ask me, can you cut that in half? And so my response is, unfortunately, I can't do that because my liability will not be cut in half.
Wow.
And if you go ask somebody else,
that. Can I steal that?
you can take that.
Yeah. I like that.
And then they're like, well, what do you mean? I said, well, number one, I understand my numbers and I understand what it's going to cost me to really deliver this project to you. I've seen some work from other architects that may hand you a 6 flat with only 10 sheets of drawings. And I've seen how those buildings have turned out. In fact, some of those developments have hired us to fix the failed issues as a result of not enough detail in the drawing. So the contractor is not ad-libbing and leaving important things out in the field. And you need to understand that if something goes awry, we do carry millions of liability insurance. And if I have not charged appropriately, they will not cover me. So can't do it. Right. So second, if we get past that, then we get to have the conversation about in the words of a former pastor, you have to have a paid professional. Because if you don't have a paid professional, you could end up where you don't want to be. And now you've got compounded problems that could have been avoided if you had that paid professional on board with you from the beginning. So we begin the discussion about we are an investment, our services are an investment in the success of your project. 3 years ago, we had a project that sold out in 10 business days. Wow. Now, Lauren can tell you what that means with respect to the velocity of sales. And I actually want to, we've talked about this before, we need to team up and do a seminar on how an architect can increase the velocity of sales, because the faster you sell it, the more money you make, because you're paying less on development interest. Because the sooner it's paid for, you can pay off and close your loan. Okay? So we had a client that actually told us the only way that you can help me is to help me save money. But now this is the one that really boggles my mind, which is similar to your question. The client would not follow our professional advice.
Wow.
So he ended up going into potholes that he could have avoided if he would have listened to us. And so I asked a mentor, I said, how do I tell him? I can't tell the developer I told you so, right?
Right.
Yes, you can. Right.
Oh, I just, Lauren has given me permission. Y'all,
She just said, I told you so.
Yes.
I love it.
So, and just have to, through the relationship, kind of say, hey, I did tell you X, Y, Z, and this is why you're here, because you didn't do it. So this particular development was 4 years behind schedule.
Wow.
Because there were deadlines related to city and loans and city purchases, and it didn't move. But,
Wow.
okay, so it's tough. So investment, we're an investment.
Yeah.
You mentioned earlier, you're not getting older, you're more seasoned.
Yes.
Okay, so we all have a little gray hair now.
Yeah. I guess
Okay.
some now, know.
Why you tripping?
Why you gotta call them? Now, see, you don't do that for women now, John. That's not something you do. You don't do that. You can say it, but you don't call out the women's gray hair.
I didn't say anything about age.
Okay.
Right?
Okay. All
But,
right.
so now that I've got a little gray hair.
A little?
Well, yeah. The high top fade is gone.
Okay.
But that's another story. But I think we're trusted now.
Yeah.
Because of the level of experience that we've had. Us at this table have not just done small deals. Yeah. All of us have done some multi-million-dollar deals. In previous firms that we worked for, we were the project managers.
Right.
We can take those relationships and those experiences and play it or pay it forward into our own businesses. So we talk about the fact that in 5 years, when I was working for another firm, I managed $1.8 billion in construction over a 5-year period, where I was trusted by that particular firm. But that's also why I launched.
I'm with you on that.
Because I requested a raise and a title change. And the answer was actually not going to do that.
Yep.
So I'm like, okay, time to go.
So, John, I've done this, and I'm so glad you said that. Not that, but most of Black American entrepreneurs, typically we start business because we've been underlooked, undervalued in those roles, or we have been laid off. Most of us, that was me in my early, they were like, oh, but you can do all this, you can get these awards. But when it was time for me to ask for a raise and change my position. Oh no, we're not going to be able to do that. But that's a very common story, John.
Yes, it is.
And so I'm sorry to interrupt you, but that
okay.
I've seen that, and I love when we say that, because there's this number that all these Black men are entrepreneurs. Well, what you should be asking is why?
Mm-hmm.
Why did they become entrepreneurs? And we're running the numbers, but we're not understanding the why behind it, right? From that standpoint. So I'm sorry to interrupt you on that, but I just had to say it because I just hear that all the time.
But no, it's also a perfect segue back to a previous question that I didn't totally answer. So when you get a raise and a title change, forget the money, it's the title change. Folks in power don't want to talk to somebody that doesn't appear to be in power.
Yeah.
Right?
That's true.
We actually lost jobs with other firms where someone was the marketing lady at the firm, and she's leading the presentation, and then the technical people ask her the question, and she's standing there with her hands up in the air and looks at me. Okay, so they're wondering. So that's actually what I told the bosses. Mm-hmm. I'm like, hey guys, they're looking for the answers, and the people you're sending don't have the answers. Mm-hmm. But then they turn to me. Mm. Okay, but then the equity piece, back to the community. If they get involved and are involved and bring their ideas forward, that actually has value.
Yeah.
And they, over time, can amass the experience and the exposure to be added to the table for an equity stake at the table, which is actually, if we look at the winners of Invest Southwest, it was important to former Mayor Lightfoot to increase equity stake and empowerment in the Black communities. Mm-hmm. And those who have won have actually won because of the equity stake of partnership of the development team and professional services at the table.
Mm. And that's why we have to talk about this now more than ever. And for Juneteenth, I thought it was appropriate to do it because, yes, we're all celebrating, going out to eat. All that's important. But understanding behind this is, how do we build equity? How do we build on advancement? How do we accelerate and get there faster? So I can talk about this all day, guys. Mm-hmm. So I know that we're wrapping up, but I do want you both to share with us, because the name of the show is Black Businesses Matter. So why do Black businesses matter? And I'm challenging you all, why do professional Black businesses matter today?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Well, I'll answer that with a quote and a fact about our history. Black people were the only people in the United States ever explicitly forbidden to become literate.
Yes.
What about the possibility of writing a business plan? What about the possibility of opening a new business, being an architect, being a real estate professional? We have to think about that as we're thinking about wealth building. We can work for other people forever and they can tell us what to do. But if we can then build our own, using our own intelligence that you mentioned, using the skills that we learn and then grow and then, excel in, then we build wealth for our families and other people. Our jobs are finite to a certain degree, right? And we're not going to live forever. But if we can build something where someone else can take it and move forward, think about Apple, think about Microsoft. These people are building businesses based on their intelligence and, luckily, the support of other Europeans to do different things. So I feel like, Black businesses matter because we are alive today by some miracle to, realize the dreams of our ancestors. So we have to excel. And the other thing that we have to do is we have to unify. It's Juneteenth. The only quote that I brought here today was a quote from Chancellor Williams. He wrote, "In the destruction of Black civilization, Caucasian fears about the possibility of Blacks developing a sense of oneness and unity of action is deep and centuries old." They don't want us to They don't want us to succeed. They don't want us to work together. And because we've been separated for years through slavery, separated families, we're competing against each other. If we were to unify across the board in every sector in this, we would run this country and all the others. We have to work together, and we can do it. And I'm very hopeful that we can do it.
I am very hopeful as well, Lauren, because give me some of that. Give me some. Because of the three of you all just here and just the vision that I have. I think about it's like, nope, ask this person. Nope. And they're all great people. And I think that is what you bring is this sense of unity. And I'm glad from a business standpoint, we don't see it from that. And so, John, I have to ask you, why do Black businesses matter, namely professional service businesses?
Sure. So for us in our current generation, Black professional services matter for two reasons. One, it's been lagging severely behind in municipal support, juxtaposed to construction. Now I love my construction brothers.
Right. We love them. I agree.
Yep, because we're always looking for them. With Historic Quinn Chapel, we've done like amassed teams of like 80% participation, working on the restoration of the first African American church in the city of Chicago.
Yeah.
Okay. Two, who did we have to look at as examples when we were young kids to get us to where we sit today? There wasn't an uncle who was an architect. We didn't even have a family member who knew somebody that was an architect. So it's important to us that we are visible and we are engaged and we are mentoring, as all of us are, to our younger African American, BIPOC period, youngsters, to show them that just how I saw my cousin do it, if I can do it, you can do it.
Yeah.
So we're the example now.
I agree.
Right.
I say Generation X, we have to, I think it's our responsibility now. Don't you? We used to say baby boomers. Now it's like Gen X, it's our responsibility to lead that and be mentors. I do want to I know that we talked about a few things, so I want to say, Lauren, what do you have coming up that you can just share with people so that they can follow you, connect with you, and hear about all the amazing things that you do all over the world?
Well, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to talk to you and tell you a little bit about some of the few things we have going on. You know, Finders Plus Real Estate, which is sort of the beginning of the umbrella company for FP Commercial, started 30 years ago in July.
Wow.
We opened at Black Expo 1993.
She was like 12, y'all.
Exactly.
Just for the record. Okay, just like.
And we're going to celebrate that very soon. We are having a Transforming Urban. If you go to transformingurban.net, you'll see 10 tips to real estate site selection.
Nice.
That'll be September the 12th, actually. And so you'll probably, if you can go, we have a link tree that should be active today. It's our link tree, Finders Plus Real Estate.
Okay.
And you'll see all the different things we have going on. We have blogs that discuss sort of real estate activity and things that are going on. Opportunities that, are available with our, the properties that we currently represent. Mm-hmm. And hopefully you'll, my goal is to retire and mentor more people. And hopefully there'll be information for people who want to learn more about representing commercial real estate.
I love it.
To be able to do that and learn from me and move it forward.
I love that, Lauren. What about you, John?
Sure. So I actually want to take a moment because you've done, I think, a wonderful job today in bringing the issues forward and also promoting Finders Plus and JAQ Corp.
That's right.
And I think it's important that we also talk about initiatives that we're aligned with and connected to.
Yes.
So after tennis, cycling took over, and I became ranked in the state as a young adult after graduate school. So family comes, kids come, cycling goes away. But now those two young men are doing amazing things, and I got some time back, y'all.
Yes. And you had something to do with it too.
I got something to do with it.
Hey.
So I thought it was important to use cycling because when I was racing, you're always wearing somebody else's gear, right? Okay. So now I've got JAQ Corp branded jerseys, and we're supporting other Black businesses and nonprofits that we are aligned with. So on Friday, September 29th, is the annual Illinois Environmental Council Gala. And the environment is critical to us because so many companies pollute in Black and brown communities.
Ooh, that's a trigger. I'm sorry. Okay. That's a trigger for me.
So as an architect, I get to talk about what we can do in the construction industry to alleviate that. Okay. Because we are the only architect that designs as a result of an analysis of music that is selected by you, the client. We are supporting Black Music Matters, and Black Music Matters is on a world tour right now, and a U.S. tour. July 14th, they will be in Ravinia, blowing up Ravinia.
Wow.
Okay. And then third, Quinn Chapel is doing amazing things.
Yes.
And Lauren mentioned mental health earlier today. And I think it's October 14th. There's Jericho Walk, and this would be the third year that they've done it, where you can come receive information on mental health, general health, do a labyrinth walk that's tied to scripture. Wow. And really receive some empowering, self-empowering messages that can help you through your individual walk of whatever labyrinth you're trying to make it through.
Nice.
So those three things, I want to elevate those. I think you said that folks will have access to our social media outlets, and so I'll allow that to happen to talk
Can
about.
you share your social media handles?
Sure. Instagram and Facebook are JAQ Corp _INTL, and Twitter is JAQ Corp. And you can find me by name on LinkedIn and also get to our business page. And we are hiring because we're growing.
I love when we get your handles, Lauren.
Facebook is Finders Plus Advisory, LaurenLowery.com, LaurenGLowery.com, FindersPlus.com, FGCommercial.com.
I love it.
LinkedIn, IG, I think, is FG Commercial. And then it's Lauren, you know what? I have two LinkedIn profiles. One is Lauren G. Lowery, one is Lauren Lowery. I also have a foundation that archives the history of house music, and that one is one and one is Finders Plus. Okay. So go to both, check them out.
I mean, guys, here's the thing. They just gave us a whole lot of information. I just want to say, for those who were listening to us, thank you for rocking with us. This is our second Juneteenth special episode, and I get excited about this. So thank you guys for tuning in. Please connect with these amazing individuals, because I'm grateful that they're in my life and I can call them, text them. I just want y'all to know that I don't just have to email them, that I have direct access to them, because they are incredible and remarkable. The one thing that I want to leave with you for Juneteenth is, I'm going to make one request. I do this all the time for Juneteenth, is make a commitment to advocate to one professional service business, whether you work for someone, and challenge them to do that. If you can do that for me, then we know we have freedom and access. So please give us that access and call out our names. Thank you for rocking with us for another episode of Black Businesses Matter. Happy Juneteenth!
Happy Juneteenth!
Happy Juneteenth!
The Black Businesses Matter podcast is produced by the L3 Agency, a culturally sensitive influencer, marketing, and communications firm in Chicago, where relationships are our currency, passion is our profit maker, and people are our bottom line. Follow us on Instagram at Black Businesses Matter.